You ever meet someone who makes you feel like the silence between your heartbeats suddenly means something? Like the pauses in your life, the ones you thought were empty, were actually just waiting for her? That was her. The girl behind the wheel of a Jaguar F-Type. And behind the walls I didn't even know I'd built. My name's Daniel. I'm 26, and for most of my adult life, I've worked under hoods. Oil-stained hands, busted knuckles, engines that roared louder than most people ever listened. I wasn't supposed to be at that garage that day. I was filling in for a guy named Mitch, who called in hungover after his bachelor party. But fate doesn't care about party regrets. Fate just parks her car in Bay 3 wearing red lipstick and sadness like perfume. Her name was Ava. The first thing I noticed wasn't the car. It was her silence. She leaned on the driver's side door like she was holding something in. A secret, or maybe just the tears that don't ask permission. "You're Daniel?" she asked. "Yeah, Mitch is out today." She nodded like she didn't care, or maybe cared too much and didn't want to show it. "It's making a strange sound when I turn left. Feels like it's pulling away from me." I looked at her. "You talking about the car?" I said, trying to be light. She blinked slow. "Aren't we all?" And just like that, she walked off toward the glass-walled waiting area, heels echoing in a room built for machines, not memories. I got under the car. Brakes were fine. Power steering solid. But I kept working anyway, taking my time not to fix the car, but to figure her out. I looked up once, through the open space where the wheel had been, and saw her watching me. Not like a customer, like a woman who wasn't sure if it was still safe to trust eyes. Later, as I handed her the keys, I said, "It was the strut mount. Nothing major. It's stable now." She took the keys slowly, her hand brushing mine. Then she smiled, kind of, and asked, "Do you fix hearts too?" I laughed, nervously, because who says something like that to a guy with grease under his nails? But her smile vanished just as fast. "I was joking," she whispered. "Sort of. That should have been it. End of story. Pretty girl, fixed car, one poetic line." But Ava came back. A week later, for an oil change she didn't need. Then again, and again. Sometimes she just sat in the lounge and watched the rain blur the windows. Sometimes she brought coffee, black for me, oat milk for her. Sometimes she said nothing. And sometimes she asked me things no one ever had. Why do men leave when you start needing them? Do you think love can be real if it starts in a place like this? Does anyone really forgive their parents? She never waited for answers. Maybe because I didn't have any, but I kept showing up for her, even when I didn't know what I was showing up to. One night, late October, she found me in the back shop. Everyone else had gone. The radio was low, something moody and too honest. "I don't want to go home," she said, arms crossed like armor. "Why not?" She hesitated. "My dad's in town. He thinks I'm still the girl who follows his rules." I dried my hands on a rag. "And you're not." Her jaw tightened. "He didn't come to my graduation. But now that I work at his dealership, suddenly I'm his daughter again." Her eyes locked on mine. "You ever hate someone for not loving you the right way, even if they think they did?" I nodded, slowly. "Yeah, every day." That night we didn't kiss. We didn't touch. We just sat, her on the tool bench, me on a crate, sharing silence like it was something sacred. Then came the twist. A week later, her dad showed up. Not at her place. At the garage. Mr. Hunt, owner of Hunt Luxury Auto Group. I'd seen him on billboards. He shook my hand like he wanted to break it. "You're Daniel? The boy who's been helping my daughter." "Helping?" I said, blinking. "Don't play stupid. She's distracted. She's slipping at work. And now I find out she's spending time with you." His voice was acid over velvet. Then he did something I'll never forget. He slid an envelope across the front desk. "Thick, heavy, cash. Whatever fantasy you're entertaining, let it go. My daughter's not your project." I didn't touch the envelope. I didn't say a word. But Ava was standing behind him. She'd heard everything. She didn't speak. Not then. Just walked away. Got into her car. Sped off. I didn't see her for 4 days. When she came back, her eyes were red, hair messy, makeup smudged, like she hadn't slept since. "Why didn't you take the money?" she asked softly. "Because fixing you was never the job," I said. "It was the privilege." That was the first time she kissed me, right there, between the toolboxes and oil drums, like we were both broken things that somehow made each other hum. But life isn't a love song. Not when families meddle. Not when jobs are tied to last names. Not when love feels like a rebellion. Because the next morning, Ava was gone, quit her job, disconnected her number, and I found something in my locker, a note in her handwriting. It read, "I don't want to break you the way I was broken. Good hearts don't survive around people like me." And that was 2 years ago. I still fix cars, still wait for the sound of her engine in Bay 3, still wonder if I ever really knew who she was, or if she was just a storm that passed through and left me forever changed. This is the story I've never told anyone. I call it, "I was just fixing her favorite car." She said, "Do you fix hearts too? You think time makes things fade, but grief has a terrible memory, forgets nothing, especially when it's wrapped in lipstick prints on empty coffee cups, or the sound of her voice echoing through oil-stained dreams." For weeks after Ava disappeared, I kept expecting her to walk in, like she'd just pop her head through the door and say, "Miss me," like it was all some sick, poetic test. But the only thing that showed up was silence. And silence is cruel when it used to wear perfume. Then, in early December, a sleek silver Porsche pulled into the lot. Different car, same seat, same woman, Ava. But she wasn't alone. A tall man stepped out from the passenger side, well-dressed, confident, the kind of guy whose shoes cost more than my month's rent. They walked in like ghosts pretending to be human. I stood there, breath caught between gears and heartbreak. She saw me, didn't flinch, didn't smile. "Daniel," she said, calm like a surgeon, "can you take a look at the engine? It's stalling on acceleration." Like nothing had happened, like she hadn't vanished and taken half my soul with her. I glanced at the guy beside her. He didn't introduce himself. He didn't need to. His hand resting lightly on her lower back told me everything. I swallowed hard. "Sure, Bay 2. I didn't say much while I worked. My hands moved, but my mind was a riot. Who was he? Why now? Why this garage? The car didn't need fixing. I knew that within minutes. It was flawless, just like her cover story. When I finished, she was waiting outside, alone. Snow falling lightly around her. Red scarf, same sad eyes. I handed her the keys. She reached for them but held on this time. "His name's Simon," she said. "He's not my boyfriend." I said nothing. She bit her lip. "You looked angry." "I'm not angry," I said quietly. "I'm just confused and tired of pretending I didn't feel something real." She blinked. Tears welled, but she caught them before they fell. "You did feel something real. That's the problem." We stood like that, words floating like smoke, until Simon came around the corner. She snapped back into her role. "Thank you, Daniel," she said formally. "I'll leave a review." Then she walked away, just like before. But the next morning, I found an envelope under the garage door. No name, just a torn edge. Inside was a note, scrawled in haste. "Meet me at 11:30 p.m., back of the old dealership. Please." My hands shook. My heart, whatever was left of it, started to beat like it wanted out of my chest. That night, I drove to the back lot of Hunt Auto, her father's crown jewel, now cold and closed for renovations. She was there, leaning against a Civic like royalty hiding in exile. "Why here?" I asked. "Because no one comes here anymore," she said. "And because it used to be mine before he took everything." Her breath clouded the air. "My father found out about you," she whispered. "The note in your locker. It wasn't mine." I froze. "What?" "He wrote it. He found my journal. Thought he could end us." "Us?" I asked. "There was an us?" She looked at me like I just asked if water was wet. "Daniel, I came back for you. Not for closure. Not for chaos. For you. I wanted to believe her. God, I did. But betrayal doesn't leave clean wounds. It scars before it bleeds. That's when headlights flared in the distance. A black SUV pulling into the lot. Ava's eyes widened. Go, she whispered. It's him. You serious? She grabbed my hand. If he sees you, he'll ruin your life. I clenched my jaw. I don't care. I do, she whispered. Then she kissed me hard, desperate, like it might be the last time. Run, she said. So I did. I didn't look back. But her lips stayed on mine long after I disappeared into the night. That was 3 months ago. Since then, nothing. No calls. No notes. No Porsche. Just the ghost of a girl in a scarf and a kiss that tasted like goodbye. But last week, something happened. A new client came in. Routine tire change. And in the glove compartment, tucked beneath the manual, was a photo. Ava, holding a baby, smiling. On the back, one line, fixing hearts isn't your job, but you fixed mine. That photo stayed in my mind like a whisper I couldn't shake, a question without an answer. Ava holding a baby, smiling like the storm had passed. But the storm wasn't over. Not yet. I kept turning it over, wondering what kind of love story had spun out of our silence. It was late June when I finally heard from her. No warning, no mystery note, just a call. Meet me at the park near the river, she said, voice soft and brittle. I drove there with a nervous knot in my stomach, like I was walking into the eye of a hurricane. She was sitting on a bench, watching the sunset bleed orange and purple into the sky. In her arms, the same baby from the photo, a small boy maybe a year old. She looked at me with tired eyes, but there was something else, a spark I hadn't seen before. I want you to meet my son, she said simply. Her story spilled out in waves between the hum of cicadas and the rustle of leaves. Her father's control had strangled her dreams, forcing her into a life she never wanted. A life where she was expected to be perfect and obedient. But then Simon came, the man from the Porsche. Not a boyfriend, a business partner, a man Ava trusted with her plans to finally break free. But plans go sideways. She got pregnant alone. Her choice. She left the dealership, left the city, and built a quiet life far from the noise. And you? I asked, voice barely above a whisper. I thought I was broken beyond repair, she said. But then I remembered you fixed that car, and maybe you could fix me too. I reached out, and the baby's tiny hand curled around my finger. That's when it hit me. The real repair isn't under the hood. It's inside us. We talked for hours. About love and loss, betrayal and forgiveness. About family scars that bleed deep and futures that can still be written. She admitted she'd run away because she was scared. Scared of what love could do. Scared of letting anyone in, especially me. But here we were, two broken hearts, trying to piece together something new. The hardest part? Trust. Because love isn't just about the good moments. It's about holding on when everything feels like it's falling apart. And that night, as the city lights flickered on and the river whispered secrets only the brave dared hear, I realized something. I don't fix hearts. Hearts fix themselves, sometimes with a little help. And maybe that help is just showing up. Ava looked at me and smiled, the kind of smile that means both pain and hope. Do you think we can really start over? She asked. I took her hand and squeezed it gently. I don't know, I said, but I'm willing to find out. This is the story I never told anyone until now. The story of how fixing a car turned into fixing a heart, and how love can surprise you in the darkest places. Maybe love isn't always a fairy tale. Maybe it's messy, painful, full of twists you don't expect. But maybe it's also the thing that saves you. So here's what I learned. Sometimes the people you're meant to love don't just drive into your life. They break down your walls, wreck your plans, and force you to rebuild. And that's okay, because the only thing stronger than a broken heart is the courage to let it beat again. Thanks for listening. I'm Daniel, and this is the story I've never told anyone before. I call it, I was just fixing her favorite car. She said, do you fix hearts too? If you ever find yourself lost, remember, sometimes the hardest repairs don't happen in the garage. They happen inside,